What up, Fortnite fam? It's your boy Matt back again to bring you the latest and greatest tips and tricks to help make you a better Fortnite player. Chapter 3 Season 2 is of course here, and it looks like Epic has decided to double down on the spray meta, as the extremely powerful Stinger SMG is here to stay, along with the addition of the brand new Combat SMG and Striker Burst Rifle. The addition of these new items into the spray meta means you need to make sure your tracking is on point. That's why today we're going to be going over the most optimal controller settings for Season 2. And hey, once you've got your settings sorted out, head over to ProGuides.com and meet up with one of our pro coaches. Playing with a pro coach is the best way to improve at Fortnite fast, since they can tell you exactly what you're doing wrong and the best ways to improve it. Before we get into the sensitivities, we first need to take a step back and look at the linear and exponential input curve options in order to see which one works best for you. While the pro controller community is pretty much split down the middle in regards to using either linear or exponential, there are still some major pros and cons to each input that you need to be aware of. In the past year or so, hype quickly started gathering around the exponential setting thanks to pros like Reet and Colazo, showing off the extremely strong close-range aim assist strength it has to offer. While exponential does have considerably stronger aim assist at close range, linear definitely takes the crown when it comes to mid and long-range aiming. This can be very beneficial in situations where you need to hit those long-range AR shots for Storm Surge, or just when you need to get the go-ahead beam on an opponent before you decide to push. Don't get me wrong though, you can still have great close-range aim on linear, and solid long-range aim on exponential. But if you know you tend to struggle at either of these ranges, it's definitely something you need to consider when choosing which input is best for you. Of course, your sensitivity input doesn't only affect your aim, it has a huge impact on your mechanics as well. And since building and editing is without a doubt the largest skill gap in the game, you need to make sure you're comfortable with your builds and edits on whichever input you're leaning towards. We'd even say you should prioritize your ability to build and edit swiftly over your weapon aim when choosing an input. Now, we're not saying that exponential is horrible for your mechanics, but linear is undoubtedly easier to be smooth and consistent with your builds. See, linear basically uses your raw joystick input when controlling your crosshair, making it pretty easy to control your sensitivity. On the other hand, exponential takes your raw joystick input and spits out an adjusted movement based on your settings. At times, this can make it feel as if you're dragging your joysticks through the mud, overall just feeling delayed and inconsistent. While there are a good amount of super mechanically cracked exponential players, linear seems to be the best option if you're a player who prioritizes your building and editing over your aim. Now that you know the differences between exponential and linear, we can finally hop into the most important part: sensitivity. First, we're going to take a look at aim down sight sensitivity, or ADS. Considering there haven't been many loophole changes for mobility implemented this season, you're not going to need to worry about tracking fast-moving players like you would when items like shockwaves or crash pads were in the game. We'd recommend setting your ADS anywhere between 8 and 12%. With a slow sensitivity like this, you'll be able to absolutely laser opponents from the medium range, while still being able to keep up with players who are launch padding away. Also, make sure to keep your ADS vertical and horizontal boosts at 0, as this doesn't add any significant value and will simply make you inconsistent with your tracking. Your ADS sensitivity won't be affected too much when switching between linear and exponential, but like we said before, exponential tends to be weaker from the medium to long range distances. So, sticking to a lower sensitivity like 8 or 9 will help you be as accurate as possible if you are on exponential. To make sure you've chosen a good ADS sensitivity for yourself, head into an aim training map like Scarvox Aim Trainer and run some tracking drills from various distances. Keep making minor adjustments to your sensitivity until you find the one that you can comfortably control from all distances. There isn't a standalone sensitivity that's most optimal for Fortnite, considering players of different gaming backgrounds have different playstyles. But most professional controllers play anywhere from 38 to 35% look horizontal and vertical speeds. The lower you have your sensitivity set typically means the easier it is to aim. But if you have it set too low, you're going to struggle to track your opponents at close range, especially when they jump over your head. We recommend playing around 40 to 46% vertical and horizontal, as it's pretty easy to control while still not looking like a turtle when turning around. To find an aiming sensitivity that works well for you, head into Raider 464's Aim Duel map. In here, you can 1v1 an opponent in different gunfighting scenarios without any building at all. Focus on being able to consistently track your opponent with an SMG, as well as lining up headshots with a shotgun. Just like you did for your ADS sensitivity, start with one sensitivity you think you might like and then make minor adjustments, either up or down, until you've found your perfect sweet spot. Along with your look sensitivities, you have your build and edit multipliers. These really just come down to your playstyle, but a general rule of thumb should be to stick around 1.9 to 2.3 times. This range is what the majority of professional controller players play within, as you can quickly flick to whichever direction you need to protect yourself from, as well as being able to have mechanical speed similar to a keyboard player without it being too hard to control. Some of the more flashy and mechanical controller players like Hazard will play on higher sensitivities all the way into the 3 times multipliers. But this requires outstanding joystick control and a controller with absolutely zero stick drift. So if you want to try out a high build and edit multiplier, then go for it. But you should know that you can be just as mechanical on a lower sensitivity. To make sure you've chosen the right sensitivity for yourself, start by free building in an empty creative island. Practice all the high ground retakes, edits, and box fighting moves you regularly do, and make adjustments where you see fit. Once you think you're on a comfortable sensitivity, head into a free-for-all map where you can get rapid-paced fighting practice to make sure everything's working out for you in an actual fighting environment. The final thing we need to talk about in regard to sensitivity is your dead zone. The dead zone is something players typically won't pay much attention to, but can actually have a huge impact on your gameplay. The dead zone is basically an imaginary circle diameter around your joystick. Your joystick movement will only register once the joystick breaks the defined dead zone area. Having a higher dead zone will make this circle larger, meaning small movements you make with your joystick won't register. On the other hand, if you have your dead zone on the lower side, any minor movements you make will register in-game. Having a low dead zone makes micro adjustments much easier to perform, but will make you much more vulnerable to stick drift, which is something we want to avoid at all costs. Xbox controllers in particular usually have a fair amount of stick drift on lower dead zones fresh out of the box. Also, every type of controller is just a little bit different, especially after some wear and tear, so you'll just have to see how your controller holds up over time. As a rule, we recommend playing on the lowest dead zone you possibly can without experiencing any stick drift as you look around, as well as in build and edit mode. Ideally, you'd want to be on a 6 or 7% dead zone. Unfortunately, most of you will have some stick drift on these settings, so 8 to 10% is probably more realistic. We want to be on a lower dead zone due to the extra control we have in comparison to a higher dead zone. You'll be able to make micro adjustments and small flicks, as well as being able to be overall more consistent with your crosshair placement. Now that we have all the important stuff out of the way, let's talk a little bit about edit on release. Confirm edit on release has been in the game for some time now, so we've been able to see the pros and cons of using it on controller. First off, playing with confirm edit on release will without a doubt allow you to edit quicker. Instead of having to confirm each edit you make, simply letting go of your right trigger will confirm the edit for you. This makes double and triple editing much more efficient and less likely for you to get stuck. On the other hand, confirm edit on release will make your crosshair placement in box fights suffer a little bit. This is due to having to keep your crosshair positioned on the final tile you selected on your edit. This is going to make positioning yourself for right hand peaks like the peanut butter edit a little bit more challenging, especially since you're using a joystick and not a mouse like keyboard players. At the end of the day, it's up to you to decide which option works best for you. If you are lacking on your edit speed, give confirm edit on release a shot and see if it feels better for you. However, if you are already a strong editor with solid timing for confirming your edits, you're probably better off not using it, as the crosshair placement aspect could affect you negatively. Well, that wraps things up for today, Fortnite fam. Did you enjoy the video? Be sure to leave a like and ring that bell to stay up to date with all the latest and greatest tips and tricks that we have to offer. Also, feel free to leave a comment and let us know if there is anything you would be more interested in learning more about. Remember, your settings really all come down to personal preference, but keep these tips in the back of your head when adjusting your settings. Once again, this is Matt, looking forward to seeing you on our next video.